I'm fighting every day. I'm fighting for my peace. I'm fighting for my happiness. I'm fighting for my well-being. I'm fighting every day. Even when I think about my dad, I have his death certificate over here. My mom gave it to me and I have it she has it in a really nice frame. I can't look at that. So I can't go up to it. I can't read it. I can't look at that. I tried a couple of times to read it, but I can't do it. If you're not familiar, my dad was shot. After he was shot, he survived, but he was paralyzed. Then he was paralyzed for about, I want to say 2 years, and then he passed away. So ever since that he has been gone, I don't even like to talk about how much time it passed. Because the last time I calculated, I think it's been 17 years, and that was really hard for me to grasp. To me, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. It seemed like it just happened. So when I think back around, when I gather up the time of when I last spoke to him, I was like, nope, we're done. I'm not gonna talk about that. So to sit back and think okay, it's been 17 years since I spoke to him on the phone, since I seen him in person, since I hugged him, since I kissed him. When I start thinking about all that, it's very overwhelming. Each day I wake up, I feel like I'm in emotion. I feel like I'm on autopilot since he died. Since he died, I feel like I'm an autopilot. I feel like I wake up, I feel like, I'm okay, Maya, this is a new day, a new start, a new beginning. Each day you wake up, let's make the best out of the day. But everything still feels surreal. And people always say, okay, but it's been 17 years. You're not over it. What are you talking about? I don't like when people say that you never get over something. The longer time pass, you're able to deal with it better, but you will never get over something. I can't even say my dad's name. I can't even look at a picture. When I look at a picture, it just brings up all types of emotions, and it just allows me to know that even though it's been these many years, you're not over that situation. You're not over it. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't feel like I'm handling it in the best way, because I feel like a lot of times I avoid it. I avoid the feeling. When I feel like I'm gonna cry, I think about something else. When people talk about him, I try to change the subject. I don't go out to the grave. And my mom was like, well, if your dad will be disappointed that y'all not going out there to see him. And I know that she's telling the truth, he will be, because that's why he wanted to be buried. Because even though he always said that when he died, he's not scared of dying, but he's scared of how his death is going to affect us and how we're going to handle his death. That's what he always says. He's like, I don't fear about dying, because my dad was a strong, level-headed, God-fearing man, and he always read the Bible every morning, daily, with coffee, and he was a coffee drinker, and I noticed that transferred down to me, because I love when he made coffee, and I'm a coffee fiend now. So he just said that he knew that it was going to have a big effect on us, and it does, you guys. To wake up and you feel like you're in a fake world, every time I wake up, it's I just feel like I'm in somebody else's reality. I never thought in a million years that I would be living, on this earth, got married, had a child, and accomplishing all these things that I'm accomplishing without my dad. I never thought that I would be living this life without him. I never thought that my dad will be shot. I never thought that my dad would not be here by me. I never thought that in a million years. I thought he will always be there, So I've never been the same. I never been the same. I felt like when he was here, I felt like I was how you when you have all your people, all your main people, all the people that you love, you feel complete. You feel like everything is just the way it is. You're content. You love your life. You got the people that means the world to you. And you just feel like everything is just amazing. That's how I felt when my dad was living. Then once he died, it's just a part of me. A part of me has never, ever been the same. It's never been the same. And it's you wake up, it's not a day goes by that I don't think about him. Not a day goes by that I don't think about the situation and what happened and how it played out. You know what I mean? Not a day goes by that I don't think about the time where, I found him deceased, and I had to call the paramedics, and I had to sit there and see them working on him and see them, trying to get him to the hospital. Not a day goes by that I can't get that image out of my head, So it's like, when I hear people be talking to their parents crazy, or or talking to their parents crazy, or don't cherish their parents, man, I'll do whatever I could or can to hear or see my dad or hug my dad again. And I tell women all the time, I'm like, bro, instead of cussing your dad out or, being mean to your dad, you got to cherish your dad, because there's women out there like me that don't even have their dad. You know what I mean? And the thing is that I wish people spoke more about the impact that death has on you. Ever since I feel like what my dad, and I'm probably not even communicating this right, but God just told me to record the video, so I'm just being obedient. It may not sound like I'm articulating it right. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm just talking to you guys because maybe somebody needs to hear this. When other people talk about when I hear all these stories about other people dying from suicide, people dying from these horrific deaths, or even certain things like people losing their grandmother, their dads, their moms. Honestly, because I've been there, done that, and I know exactly how that feels, and I know exactly how that made me feel. It allows me to relate to people. If somebody say oh, I lost my grandmother, right? A lot of people can say meaningless, my condolences. But if you lost your grandmother and you knew and felt that impact, then when you send your condolences, you will be able to when somebody's being sincere, when somebody's been through something. So when people talk or when people say that I lost somebody or I lost a child or anything like that, I can relate to it because I lost not only my dad, but other people that meant a lot to me. So I can relate. I can relate to you, and then I'm not gonna lie, when people share stories, you guys, I never was a crier. I didn't cry. I didn't cry. I cried on my own behind closed doors, but it's that whole experience that I had with my dad, it brought another side out of me. So when people tell me stories or if people cry, I cry with them. You know what I mean? And when people tell me something, I tell them all the time. I was talking to this woman because she was calling me, follow me here. She was calling me because, she wanted to see if I can take the foster baby she had because she had a family emergency. And she felt so bad about having to close her license down and give up the baby. So the woman started crying. So I'm in the middle of work, took time off my work from doing desk work to talk to her. And I started crying. I said, look, you're making me cry and it's too early to cry right now. And then she started laughing in the midst of her crying. And I started crying because I can relate to how she feels. And with these kids that you love these kids. So that's not, it may seem like I got kind of off topic, but I'm just letting you guys know, I can relate. I can relate. So I don't feel right. I don't feel the same. It's I'm happy. I thank God for my life. And I thank God that I was able to get past that point of my life, because me losing him almost caused me to lose my life because my whole life shifted into a negative path. But it's I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. I don't feel the same. I always talk to my dad all the time. Hey, look, that it's hard out here for me. It's a struggle each day being on this earth without you. It's a struggle for me not to be able to pick up the phone and call you. It's a struggle for me to go through something and I'm oh, dang, I need strength right now. I need logic right now. Let me call my dad. That it's hard out here for me. So me being able to talk to him in spirit and still be able to express my emotions, when I do that, it's weird because I feel a certain feeling over me that I know that he hears me and I know that he's near. And what bothers me is just the whole thing that happened. And it's you never get over it. You think about it all the time, but you just learn how to handle it. And some days, so I'm being honest with you, some days it's harder than others. Some days I can deal with it. I'm good. I'm straight. The next moment, I'm having a hard time. For example, everything reminds me of my dad. Whenever I hear Musiq Soulchild, it makes me think of my dad because he used to play and we used to sing and listen to the whole album back from the beginning to the end. Then we're done. Repeat. Same with D'Angelo. So Like I had, what did I have? I had fettuccine and I made it really, really hot because my dad used to always like his food like scorching hot, and he'll eat it like that. And I'm like, hey, he was trying to give me some because y'all know when y'all dad makes food, for some reason it just tastes better than yours. It tastes better when daddy warms it up. I don't know what it is, but it tastes better. So I had warmed up a plate of fettuccine, and I told my husband, I was like, dang, I was like, this reminds me of my dad. That's when it tastes its best, when it's scorching hot like that. So, and then my husband looked back, he was like, "My, really?" Because it made him sad that I said that. And I also said, he'll love to taste this fettuccine, So it's like times like that. It's like you never, when it comes to death, you never forget about that person. You never forget about the time. And navigating life after something so traumatic is just really, really, really hard to do. Sometimes thinking of his death, it clouds my thinking. Sometimes I can't even think straight. I'm trying to still process and pack and put away my past, put it in perspective, while trying to be happy in my current situation and in the future. Now, those are like 3 components. That's really hard to navigate all those and pack them up and process all 3 of those components that I just said. And there's nothing I can do. That's how I tell myself. I'm like, look, like you're going to be crying, dropping tears, feeling like this, probably for the rest of your life until God calls you home, until God calls you home. Because what can you do? You can't bring nobody back. That's the thing about death. And that's why death weighs so heavy on me, because it's final. So when people say they lost somebody, or like one of my homeboys, he got killed a week ago. And it just made me sad because I just talked to him not too long ago. He called me. And he called me when he was in prison. And then when he got released from prison, he called me again. And, we're chopping it up or whatever. But thinking about his death, it's like, that's final. That's it. You just did 5 years in prison. You got out, was out for about like a year or 2. And then you're going like that. It's final. It's final. So the good thing I can say about my dad's life is that my dad lived life to the fullest. Like we always traveled a lot. He was always cooking. We were always going on adventures. We were always doing something. And I can say that my dad was always very happy despite of his circumstances and different things that he went through in his life. He always had a baseline, and that was keeping his peace. That was keeping his faith in God. That was always being just solid mentally and never wavering. And I believe and know that that's where I got that from my dad. No matter what I'm going through, I stay the same. I am the same. I have the same mindset, and it does not change. So me learning that from my dad, I was able to apply it to my life. Like, yeah, I have good days. Yeah, I have bad days, Yeah, think about it all the time. But I told myself no matter what I go through in my life, like there is a God. God is able. God is alive. And just keeping that baseline and always remaining happy no matter what goes on, what other chaos goes on outside of my life. So yeah, I'm tearing up, crying, I'm still happy. I'm still content. I still thank God. In my sadness, I'm still happy. I'm still content. I still thank God. On my worst days, I'm still happy. I'm still content. I thank God. When family members die, or when my family members or my friends get into bad situations, I'm still happy. I'm still content. I still thank God. My baby's trying to come out here. He got that little walker, and I'm trying to record, and he's waiting to come out here. So I'm about to wrap the video up. But it's like, if you ever lost your dad to gun violence, or lost a parent, a brother, a cousin, a friend, anybody to gun violence, it just hit differently. And it hits differently for me because it's like, I'm like, dang, that person that pulled that trigger on my dad, how much anger were you holding? How much jealousy were you holding? How much fear were you holding to get the courage to draw a gun on somebody and pull the trigger 7 times? And a lot of people are affected by gun violence. It's just not just my dad. So I'm not doing this video because I want you guys to feel sorry for me. I'm just telling y'all that I've never been the same since they shut that casket down on my dad, since he was put in the ground. I have never been the same. Never. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. But to live life daily to where you feel like a piece of you is like completely gone, or where you just wake up and you like, dang, like I know I'm not the same. You know, I'm not the same. I'm not the same person. And not a day goes by that I'm like not thinking about it. I can go on vacation, I'm thinking about it. I can go on a lavish trip, I'm thinking about it. I can be going through the happiest time of my life, I'm still thinking about my dad. I'm still thinking about everything that happened. No matter where I'm at, I can be thousands of miles away, I'm still thinking about it. I can live in another state, I'm still thinking about it. Like, it just follows me, you know? So I was able to unpack. It's so funny because after I unpack that and just talk to you guys about it, I just feel like, I don't know, like a burden like lifted, because it was a heavy feeling on me for the past 2 days. So I'm glad that I was able to get it out. Now, it may not even make sense to you what I said. Maybe may not even make sense, but I got it out and I was able to talk about it. And I just hope that somebody else, you know, if you can understand how I'm feeling, or if you are going through this, you know, if you can give me some tips or just explain or let me know, like, you know, if you can relate, like, that would be great, you guys, because I'm like, dang, like, I just told myself, like, you're never going to be the same. Your life will never be the same after experiencing something so traumatic like that. But it is what it is. I'm still living, still happy, still grateful, still thank God. That's the thing. No matter what, I thank God at all times. On my hard days, when I'm having a hard time, when I'm sad, when I'm heavy, I pray at all time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And I don't like to take my feelings out or bring my feelings out on somebody else, or just trauma dump on somebody. I trauma dump on God. That may not sound right, but I bring all my problems to God. That's what I do. So, yeah, I'm glad that I was able to unpack this today. And I'm sending you love. I'm sending you grace. I'm sending you virtual hugs, kisses, anything you need. Like, I love y'all. And then anybody that's watching this, just know that you're not alone, and I feel for you. And I mean, I really feel for you. I'm just not saying that. And if I'm able to still get up, still live, still get up and breathe and keep going, then you can do the same exact thing.